Right.
And Stu ran it was a wrestling territory, but Stu liked the gimmicks. You could get a bear or a damn lion or tiger or bear or whatever the hell.
Oh my.
You know, man, they worked there. He had a bear underneath the damn house. Bring the bear out and bear works.
It was a working bear?
It's a working bear. He had a working tiger. He had a working lion.
He just kept these.
Grab a tiger by the tail and wait.
Where did he keep these animals?
Underneath the house.
I mean, you're making that up.
No, I'm not.
So there was a cage underneath the house where most people would have a crawl space. I thought the dungeon was under the house. I thought the dungeon
was under the house, but you still had like an area underneath the house.
So there was there was an area that was a crawl space, and he kept wild animals in there.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody?
So little Brett and Owen, they're just throwing raw meat underneath the house to feed their pet tiger and lion and bear.
Yeah. They used to tease him with Owen. Yeah, and pull him back just in time.
I mean, there's the tiger right there with Stu, but
yeah.
I mean, Bruce, I love you, but there's almost no chance you're going to convince me that motherfucker lived under his house.
Okay, then tell me where he lived.
I don't know. I'm asking. I mean, I've heard of people like, oh, my horse got out. You know, listen, I know people who own horses.
I did. Hang on. Wait a minute. Wait, just a dadgum minute, man. So, John Mecom, original owner of the New Orleans Saints, spoke to him yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Had a menagerie of animals on Lazy Lane. I could actually give, I think it was 5 Lazy Lane. I can actually give the address now because it doesn't exist anymore. So, had this 12,000 foot mansion, a 5,000 square foot pool house, beautiful pool, and 5 acres in River Oaks in Houston, Texas, and had every African wild animal that you could possibly imagine living there. And one time, it's a true story. One time, a cheetah got out, and the housekeepers and the staff are running down Lazy Lane. For those of you in Houston, no River Oaks and no Lazy Lane. And they're running down Lazy Lane trying to catch the cheetah.
I mean, I wanted to poke holes in this, but that audio you just heard is when I threw it in my Google machine. And 7 years ago, there was a house on Lazy Lane listed for $20 million.
Yeah, that was Rob's.
So
that was Rob. That was Rob Taylor's who had traded houses with Mecom.
So that's the mesothelioma sponsor from the OG. Something the Wrestle days.
Yes.
He lived on Lazy Lane
he lived in that house.
In a $19.5 million house.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know houses like that existed in Houston, Texas.
Oh my God. It was unbelievable. But it was also 5 acres was a little bit more than was allowed in that area to own, for like a home. But Mecom being Mecom, so John was, he had race teams, man. He had an indie team. He had race teams. AJ Foyt raced for him. He owned the New Orleans Saints. His dad was one of the big 5 of the oil men.
Help me understand, though. We're saying this Mecom guy, he too kept a fucking tiger in his crawl space?
Well, he had an area out back. He kept them.
Okay.
And a cheetah. He had a panther. He had, the only animals that he did not get a rhino. I think he finally ended up getting a hippopotamus. But there were 3 animals, and we were talking about the other day that he did not get, that he could not get into the States. And how you would get them is you would be able to go out. He was a big game hunter, and he got to the point where it's like, why am I hunting, these animals? He goes, I should be, he appreciated the animals. So then he
Right.
started to save the animals. He wanted to save them. And so he would bring them over into the States, get them into the States. And how he would do it is he would bring over a couple and they would have babies and he could get the baby because it was in the States. And he would get the baby and bring them to his house. He loved animals. He just loved all animals and wanted to have these animals. He had monkeys, he had lemurs, he had just everything.
So, you ever see Stu wrestle a lion, a tiger, or a bear? Oh my!
I've seen him work. I've seen him work with the bear. Seen him work with the tiger. I don't necessarily think I've ever seen anything in him with the lion, but sure, I'm sure. Look, man, if the bear was trained in the dungeon, it was a stiff motherfucker. So it's not like Nick Adams in Amarillo. Nick's bear was working bear. I think that was Victor or General Ben, one of the two. He had two. They did Ben the bear off of the TV show,
Yes.
General Ben.
Yes.
So that was his working name was Ben, but his real name was Victor.
He have like an ID. Did he have to get these guys? I mean, this is the commission era. How did the commission? Did they take that bear's blood pressure?
Yeah, he had to.
This is so dumb. I mean,
why is that dumb? You got to make
have-
sure the bear is okay to go in and work. Fuck. What if he's got high blood pressure?
And he's got like a little bear ID with his photo.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, they take a picture. They take a picture of the bear. You think I'm kidding?
Well,
Those
listen,
assholes had a license for the bear.
That's where I was getting to, because I've seen wrestling licenses where you had to sign it. So do they put a bear's paw print on that motherfucker?
His agent Nick was able to sign for the bear.
So, but somewhere there was probably a power of attorney that the bear had to do with his agent.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
How do we know the bear wasn't coerced into doing this?
Bears love to work.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm
Oh
learning.
yeah, definitely, man. They love to work, man. It's nature.
Okay, so just out in the wild, sometimes you could.
Out in the wild, you need to make sure. First of all, if you're out in the wild and you encounter a bear, you say, "You work at heel or baby face?" Now, if the bear's a heel, you got to let him call the match.
That's what I want to ask you. I know if bears are old school, we've all heard as wrestling fans, there's like a secret handshake, the old limp handshake. I don't think that's a thing anymore. But do you think if you run across a bear out in the wild, you should try the working handshake and just see, so you can know, is this a trained bear?
Most of them you just ask them straight up,
Right. Now, if you run across two bears in the wild and they're doing spots,
yeah.
Is it okay for you to cheer, or should you just be quiet? Like if they're running through some maneuvers and things.
If it's worthy. Now, if it was in the Tokyo Dome, then you would have to just like politely clap. Yeah.
Golf claps.
Yeah. But most bears, it's most of the time, man, because look, man, they're coming in, they're working on top, and they like to call the match.